"5 years old. Being raised by a single working mom. She doesn't bother with the kindergarten shit. Instead, an old lady who lives in the same apartment building makes my breakfast and watches over me until her grandkids are back from school. They come back before my mom does, which means that for about 2 to 3 hours, I am home alone. One day, during that window of time, I get a phone call. Some man I don't know asks if my parents are home and I tell him I'm alone. Back in the day, we got a lot of calls from people who dialed the wrong number, so this wasn't unusual to me. Man doesn't hang up though, and he starts chatting with me. I'm bored as fuck, so I'm glad for the company. Tell him pretty much everything. That I don't have a dad, that there's a lady who watches over me in the morning, but leaves at noon, that I'm alone until 3 PM so I get bored and lonely a lot, etc. He tells me that he is a college student and that he moved away from his parents, so he gets lonely too. Says he'll call me again at the same time tomorrow so we can keep each other company. He does call, and this turns into a ritual. Normally we just chat about whatever inane bullshit comes across a 5-year-old's mind, but sometimes he'd make up stories for me. I only vaguely remember one of them, which was about a very good boy who ended up in a world where the rules are opposite, so he was suddenly considered bad. This goes on for a long time, for months maybe. I think I told my mother I had a new friend, but she dismissed it. Anyway, the time for my 6th birthday has come, and I'm super excited, and I tell him all about the party I'm going to have and the gifts I'm about to get. He says that since we're friends, he should send me a gift too, and asks for my address, saying he'll mail me something. Being a greedy little shit, I tell him. He doesn't call again. My birthday comes and goes, and I get no gift in the mail. I remember being very hurt by this, thinking he forgot about me. About a month or so after he stopped calling, I get a ring at the door as soon as the woman who watched over me left. My mother taught me not to let anyone into the apartment when I'm alone and just to ignore the doorbell, so I did. After a while, the ringing stopped and I heard a familiar voice calling out my name. "Anon, please, I know you're in there, I've got you a gift." I tell him that I'm not allowed to let him in and ask him why he didn't send it by the post like he said he would. He explained that the gift was too big to be sent by post, so he needed to come over and give it to me in person. He is pleading I let him in. Says he is my friend. I'm feeling very uncomfortable at this point, though at the time I wasn't quite sure why. Still, being curious about the gift, as well as about how my friend looks like, I looked through the peephole. He didn't look how I imagined him at all. I can't say he was ugly, but he looked off. Tall, skinny, acne, very baby-faced, which didn't seem to match his deep voice at all. He looked almost sickly. I immediately noticed that he was empty-handed and that there was no gift around. I still vividly remember the cold, sick, empty feeling in my gut when I realised that something is extremely wrong, and that I have made a terrible mistake. I immediately start to bawl and to plead that he go away. I don't know what I thought he was going to do, but I knew that it isn't good. He tried to comfort me, while still pleading to be let inside. He then started fake crying, saying that I must hate him. The door was locked, but I was still completely petrified. I tried to block it with a chair like I saw in cartoons, but I couldn't do it. My brain went to autopilot, and I screamed, "I'm calling the police!" That made him stop, and he immediately left. I was extremely shaken, but also ashamed. I knew I fucked up, so I didn't tell anyone about what happened. Instead, I insisted that I want to go with the lady who was watching over me and stay at her place until my mom gets home. Soon enough, I started going to school, and for a while I would stay there to do my homework instead of going home immediately after class, because I did not want to be alone there. I don't know for sure if he ever called again, but we did get a couple of silent calls here and there. I don't know that it was him, but I feel that it was.